श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभः निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मणदे वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितं पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्बा त्वामनुसन्ततामि भगवद्गीते विभेद्वेषिणीं। नारायणपरो व्यक्तादण्डमव्यक्तसम्भवं मण्डस्यान्तस्तु मे लोकः सप्तद्वीपाशवेदिनी अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां केदारेन्तरितश्च यः चतुष्पीठप्रतिष्ठाता जयताच्चङ्गरो गुरुः शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तं पङ्गीकृतमबोध्य किङ्करीयस्य सामाया शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रये. So we were looking at in the Sankhya Yoga shlokas between 21 and 25, I think previously. We started with Veda Vinashanam Nityam Yena Vacham Avyayam Katham Sapurusha Partha Kam Ghātayate Hantikam. Oh, Arjuna, the one who knows this Atma is indestructible, eternal, birthless, and undecaying, how can and whom does he kill or does it cause to be killed? Right? So here there is a word avinashinam, right? Avinashi, the word is there. Avinashi means indestructible. So Veda is the one who knows, not as in Rigveda, Yajurveda. I mean, it is also knowledge, but here Veda is the to know. Okay. So Avinashi, normally Nasha or destruction comes in 6 forms or 6 tattvas. Okay. So I think just going back on that shloka, 21st shloka. So Avinashi, Nasha comes in 6 forms. Okay, so first one is Swayam Nasha, so self-destruction. So Atma Vastu is not like that. So it is not like any other objects we see. So it is Niravayava, it is partless, and that's why it does not have Swayam Nasha on its own destruction. The second one is Ashraya Nasha. The second type of Nasha or destruction is Ashraya Nasha. That means it's dependent on something, and whatever it's dependent on, that gets destroyed, and that's why it destroys. For example, you have a painting drawn on a wall, and the wall gets destroyed, so the painting also gets destroyed, right? So Atma is not dependent on anything. It is independent. That's why Ashraya Nasha is also not possible. Next one is Sambandha Nasha. So it's again because of relationship to something and things like that, it gets destroyed. But that's also not possible because we hear that Atma is Ekameva Advitiyam. So there is nothing else like it. So it cannot have any such sambandha. The next one is Karana Nasha. Okay, so again, because of the effects of this, so the cause of this, so it gets destroyed. So for example, a pot made from earth gets destroyed, but Brahmavastu is not like that. It doesn't have a Karana, it doesn't have that cause, and that's why it does not have that type of destruction. Last one is Karyanasha. Okay, so because of the actions, it gets destroyed. Again, when Karananasha itself is not possible, Karyanasha is also not possible, even in this loka, and Atmavastu is beyond this loka, this world. So that's why it is not even possible. So then we looked at the 22nd shloka where Vasamsi Jirnani Yata Vihaya Navani Grinnati Naroparani Tatha Sharirani Vihaya Jirnan Yanyani Samyati Navani Dehi. So after rejecting one not close, man takes up a live one. Just like that, Likewise, after rejecting these worn out bodies, the Atma unites with the new one, right? So here again, Jirna means it's maturity, okay? Jirnam paripakvayo. So it is maturity, it is digested or used or things like that. So those are the meanings. So again, just like we change clothes over the body, Krishna says that body itself is the cloth of this Atma, just like that. So it changes whenever it is right, it changes that cloth. So again, whatever we wear becomes jirna. It becomes matured or used or digested and things like that. Whatever we eat becomes jirna, right? So we have jirna shakti. So that means digestion, energy, the strength or capacity. And then whatever grows is also jirna. And so that's why jirna does not have to be old. Okay, so here when we say Vasamsi Jirna, just like that, if you are comparing it, it doesn't have to be doesn't have to die old age. Okay, it can be death at in any form. It is just the when one reaches that completes their lifespan, whatever that allocated, at that time, that means it's Jirna, time for Jirna. Okay, so the Atma also leaves. Again, Vasamsi. Okay, so Vasas is the root word here, and Vasas means residing. Okay, so or covering. Okay, so we use, for example, Vasudeva. Okay, so Vasudeva. One meaning is he is son of Vasudeva. Okay, so that's why he is known as Krishna is known as Vasudeva. The other meaning is covers everything. That means he is everywhere. Shuddha Parabrahma. So Krishna, that's why he is called Vasudeva. So here again, Vasamsa Jirnani Yatavihai Navani Grinati Roparani. So we look at the just like the cloths changing, right? So cloth we change on our own. Okay. But can Atmos or we change our own body whenever we want? How this is comparison happening? So again, the question comes how this can be compared. Through this, though it is unseen changes in the body like clothes. So here what we are saying is the unseen changes. Body keeps changing every time. So even those are changes. Okay, so we don't have control over this. And so one other thing to observe is when mother, for example, changes clothes of children, whether it is putting a new one or removing the old one, whatever it is, baby cries, right? Babies, children cry sometimes. And Krishna is saying that just like that, you are like a baby, this body, it do not have any control. Atma keeps changing. Okay. So even when, so then in that case, when do we have that control over changing our own clothes? When we mature. Mature in the sense here, when we have that knowledge, Atma Jnana, when we think that we are that Atma, we are the soul, we are not this body, then we will have that control over when and what to wear. Okay, so that means that's when we come out of this cycle of birth and death. So samsaris, so whoever is in this cycle of birth and death, samsaris, they get to wear what's given. Okay. On the other hand, jnani is the one who has the knowledge, atma jnana. That jnani is the one who can controls what he gets. So that's why the samsaris cannot choose. Okay. Again, the last one here again, naroparani. Okay. So nara aparani. So nara again, it can get worse life than the current one, right? So when the new birth comes, it could be worse than what one has. So again, from one birth to one dies because of karma, and then he normally Shāstra says one accumulates karmas for next 10 lives. Okay, so whatever we do in this life, we accumulate for the next 10 lives. So just like that. So Naroparani, we get new one, new life, new birth, new body, and we are because of that samsara, that birth and death cycle that continues. Okay, so that's what Krishna says here. Just like that, Atma changes the body. So the karma again links us, binds us to the next birth and future births. So the only way out, as we looked at previously as well, is through that attaining that jnana, but it is not easy path, right? So here, for example, there is a story Vidwan Ganesh but narrates in his Bhagavad Gita explanations. He says that there was an astrologer uh, who used to tell everybody what to do and what happens and things like that. Okay, so we also see these days a lot of astrologers coming on TV and other places. Whenever you switch on in the morning television channels in India, most of the channels you will have an astrologer, right? So they will tell you what to wear today, what time to leave home, what time to eat, and what time to do all these kind of things. Okay, so here also an astrologer, he used to tell everybody, and after some time he thought he will look at his own horoscope and see what's going to happen to him, and he realizes, looking at his thing, he says that there is all the grahas and everything is in Vakradrashti, it's in not right place. He says that he's going to, after his death, he's going to get a birth of as a pig. Okay. So what it does is he tells his son, okay, he calls his son and tells him that when I die, after some time, I'm going to get birth as a pig. So I will somehow come to this same place here, to your house. When I come here, you kill me. Okay, so that I get that from that life, pig life, I will be removed from that life. So son agrees, and then after some time, father dies, and he get born as a pig, and sometimes later he comes to wandering. He comes to the son's house with many piglets and things like that. He comes there. Son prepares to kill that pig, and he prepares to shoot that pig. At that time, pig says that don't kill, don't kill. I'm enjoying this life more than I enjoyed in the previous life when I was a human being. Okay. So the story here is whatever the life we get, all the creatures, they want to do the karma. They don't want to get into this jnana mode. So that's why the samsara is us. We continually have this life of birth and death. Continuously we get that. And Atma goes through this changing of these clothes. Okay, changing of this body. Every now and then it goes through that process. Then we looked at the couple of two shlokas linked together, right? Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavagaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shosheti marutaha. Then achedyoyam, achedyoyam, adahyoyam, akledyoyo, ashocya, evacha, nitya, sarvagadaha, stano rachaloyam, sanatanaha. So this Atma is something weapons do not cut, fire does not burn, and water does not moisten it, and air does not dry. It cannot be cut or burnt or moistened. So, and dried up. This is Nitya, Sarvagataha, it is omnipresent. It is Tano, stationary. It's Achala, unmoving, and Sanatana. It is ever existing and changeless, right? And then the next shloka we'll also, I think, looked at last time. Avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikaryoyam, uchyate. Right? Tasmadivam viditvainam, nanushochite marhasi. So it is said that this Atma is unmanifest, it is inconceivable, unchangeable, and therefore, having known this, you ought not to grieve. Right? So that's what we looked at in the 21st slide. So again, Avyakta, Achintya, all these things, it's said in the Upanishads as well that Atma Vastu is Avyakta, Chida, Achintya, it's Nitya, all these things. Avyakta means whatever that cannot be seen, right? So it's unable to prove from Pratyaksha Pramana. Pratyaksha Pramana we looked at previously, I think, right? So Pratyaksha is whatever you witnessed, whatever you felt through your senses. Achintya is unable to think. Okay, it is Anumana Pramana, right? So Anumana Pramana, again, similar things. I think previously I gave an example, like for example, you know that when something is burning, fire, smoke comes, right? So through using that experience you previously had, now if you see in distance some smoke, you say that there must be fire, right? So you say that Anumana Pramana, you say that because you have experienced it previously, right? So, but Atmavastu is not something you can experience like that. So that's why you can't use that as a, are using Anumana, which is Achintya. And Avikarya, it is again, there is no, Vikara is change, right? Like you keep something and the next time it changes into different form. So milk becoming curd, for example, okay, it changes its form and structure or qualities or whatever. It changes. Atmavastu is different. So it is, even though we see this body as covered here as Atmavastu, that is not true. Even mind is not there. Karana Sharira, this Sharira is not Atmavastu. It's all covered here in through avidya and ajnana. Because of that ignorance only, we think that Atmavastu it does changes, right? So, but Atmavastu does not change. Because of that ignorance only, we uh, think that Atma is changing. Say, for example, uh, ignorance, if you want to say that how Atmavastu is different, when we say that I slept happily, I didn't even realize anything that happened here, whatever, right? So who is saying that happily? When we say happily, who is saying that? If mind is also sleeping, is mind is also sleeping, who is witnessing that happiness experienced by the mind? Because all your sense organs is quiet at that way. It's not doing any action, right? So mind must be experiencing happiness. So who is witnessing? It is the Atmavastu. So that's why Atmavastu is avikara, it is changeless. So I think we stopped there last time. So we will look at the next one, Shloka 26th Shloka. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि. So the meaning here is, on the other hand, if you think this one, this Atma, is born continuously or dies constantly, even then, O mighty armed one, or Mahabaho is long armed one. Mighty means Mahabaho is long armed one. So, mighty armed one, you should not grieve thus. Okay, so this shloka again completely denies what Charvakas or the Buddhists they say. They assume that Atma dies when this body dies. So this shloka says that that is not so. So if we look at the word by word meaning, atha means if or however, cha means and, enam means this Atma, nityam jatam means taking constant birth, nityam means always, va means or, manyase is you think, mritam is dead, tatapi is even then, tvam is you, mahabaho is mighty armed one, that is Arjuna, na is not, evam is like this, shochitam, grieve, arhasi is befitting. So it is not good for you. You should not do that. So if we look at Shankaracharya's Bhashya on this, so again, here it starts with on the other hand, right? Atham means if or however, on the other hand, etc. It is saying here, assuming that Atma is transient. Okay, so it is uttered that Atma is transient, assuming that if Atma is temporary. Okay, so it's assuming here. But then the question comes that there is also another argument. Some people say that Krishna could not convince Arjuna in the previous shlokas that Atmavastu is Nityam, it is changeless, it is Avinashi, it's Sanatana. He could not convince. That's why now we started another argument here. If you think that this Atmavastu is temporary, then also you should not grieve. Okay, you should not give up. So that's why But that's not true. Okay, Krishna, it is not that Krishna could not convince Arjuna. All the commentators and Bhashyakara, everyone that Shāstra, they say that they do not question Krishna's ability to convince Arjuna. Instead, they say that Krishna is using this as another argument to Arjuna why he should engage in this battle. So here the assumption is Atma is temporary. Okay, it is transient. So it is temporary. So Atacha, on the other hand, if you assume that following ordinary experience that Atma dies when the body dies and things like that, if you manya say, if you think like that, this Atma, enam, means this one, this Atma, which we are discussing for the last few shlokas, is Nityajatam, born continuously. It is becomes born with birth of each of the numerous bodies, or Nityam, it is constantly Vritam dies. Okay, it's Nityam Vritam. So if you think that it dies continuously, it's born and died regularly, continuously, Tatapi, even then, even if the Atma be of that nature, which is continuously going through birth and death, you, in that case also, na arasi shochitam. So you should not grieve even in that case, because janmavato janma nashavato nashascheteva vashyam bhavinapati. Because since that which is subject to birth and die, and that which is subject to death will be born, right? So whatever that born dies, whatever born has to die, whatever died will get birth again. That's why these two are inevitable, and that's why you should not grieve. So Krishna says that in this shloka, and then we look at the next shloka, which again continues in the same theme, where he says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyerte natvam shochitum arhasi. Because the death of anyone born is certain, and death for the dead, rebirth is certainty. That's why you should not grieve for the inevitable fact. So he says that in this shloka. So similar meaning to previous one. Jatase is the one who is born. He means for. Dhruva is certain. Mrityu is death. Dhruvam means again certain. Janma is birth. Pratasya is for the dead. Cha tasmat means and therefore. Apariharye arthe means in this inevitable situation. Not tvam shochitum arhasi means not you lament, and that's not befitting. So again, Shankaracharya explains this brief in shortly, saying Jadasi he labda janmanah dhruva avyabhichari mrityu maranam dhruvam janma mritasya. He says that this being so, death of anyone born, etc., because mrityu of anyone, the death of anyone of born is certain. So anyone who is born is certain without exception. And anyone who is dead, he gets the rebirth, and that's a certainty as well. Therefore, tasmat, the birth and death is inevitable. This fact is inevitable. Okay, therefore, this is the fact of, that is, the birth and death is inevitable. And with regard to that, and over an inevitable thing, the fact that you should not grieve. So he says that Karyakarana Sanghatatmakanyapi Bhutan Nirdishya Shoko na Yukta Kartum. Neither it is proper to grieve regarding beings which are mere combination of material causes and effects. That's why you should not grieve. So it's all just material causes that's there. So and effects, and that's why you should not grieve. Again, here, if you look at this a little bit more, this shloka is very famous, right? So, jatasya जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर् ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च. This part almost we hear regularly. So whoever is born is definite to die, and whoever is died definite to take birth, right? If you look at that part of the shloka, the first half is definite. We can all agree, right? So whoever is born is definite to die. But the second half, you can argue that it may not be true, right? Because we said that if one attains moksha, there is no rebirth after that. So now, how can we say that first half of the shloka is true and the second half is not true? That cannot be true. That cannot be right. Okay. So the explanation here is, it is true for common, as a common rule, it is true, right? For majority, for almost everybody, it is true. And only for those who are jnanis, for the ātma jnana, who has that knowledge, for them, it is second half becomes untrue, right? So because after birth, there is no, after, for them, for the one who attains moksha, there is no birth or death. Again, this birth and death is like a day and night, right? So one has to accept both. So you cannot say that I want only birth, I like only birth, and I don't want death. Or you cannot reject also. Okay, so there is no option to accept one and reject another. So that's why it is equal to, one should accept both, or like a jnani, reject both, does not get changed, influenced by either birth or death. And similar thing we hear in Ramayana as well, Valmiki Ramayana, Sarve Kshayantaha Nichayaha Patada Sarve Kshayantaha Nichayaha Patananta Samuchayaha Samyogaha Viprayogantah Paranantatam Jivitam. So Nichaya means accumulation. Okay, Sarve, everyone, Nichaya accumulates. Okay, so wealth and things like that we accumulate. Why? To spend it. Okay, Kshayantaha. So to spend and that, and we spend to again to more accumulate more. Similarly, anyone who climbs up has to come down, and anything that comes together has to separate. So we go to a party or gathering or whatever, everyone comes together, they come together to separate at the end, and then whatever that lives has to die. Okay, so the life is a preparation for the death. So that's what Ramayana also says. And again, then there is a question that could come, saying that if we are saying that jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya ja, so whoever is born is certain to die and whoever is dead certain to take rebirth, is it a solid argument, valid argument for someone is, let's say, a murderer going and killing everybody? Is it that true? Because everybody has to die at somebody, so what's the point? Let's kill everybody, right? No, that's not the saying here, because the situation here is different. What we know that this Bhagavad Gita narration started after all the attempts to stop the battle has completed, right? So then only it started. Not, and also it is true that not everyone going to a battle is going to die, and also not everyone abstaining from the battle lives for many long years. There is no guarantee, certainty of that. That's why comparing a murderer who uses this as an argument, whoever is born is certain to die, is not valid here. So what Krishna is saying is, you are just an instrument, do your duty here. So, and you act according to your duty. Okay, so your duty is here at this point is, as a Kshatriya, is to have that battle. So he says that. So with that, we look at the next shloka. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktaviranyeva tatraka paridevana. So Bharata is addressing Arjuna. Okay, who descendant of Bharata. Okay, so he's descended from Bharata king. So a king named Bharata. He came in that lineage, and that's why it's known as Bharata. And all the big all the beings remain unmanifest in the beginning. They become manifest in the middle, and after that, they certainly become unmanifest. What lamentation can there be with regard to them? So that's the meaning. So again, avyakta adini, unmanifest before birth, bhutani, that is created beings. Bhuta here is not as we see bhuta, preta, those bhuta. Again, the bhutani is created thing, created living beings. Vyakta means manifest, madhyani means in the middle. Bharata is addressing Arjuna. Avyakta is again unmanifest. Nidhanani means on death. Eva is indeed tatra. Therefore, ka paridevana means why grieve. So again, it is not reasonable to grieve even for beings which are constituted by the bodies and organs, since all beings remain unmanifest and so on. Bhutani, all the beings, they avyakta, right? They remain unmanifest in the beginning. So he says, Shankaracharya explains that they all remain avyakta. That being so, the sons, friends, and guru, pitamaha, and whatever whoever others you see, all these constituted by bodies and organs, and who before their origination have unmanifestedness, avyakta, they were avyakta before that, invisibility, non-perception, we could not see them, as their beginning are avyaktadini, right? So you could not see them. That's why they are avyaktadini. So putra vitradi karyakarana sanghatatmakanam tani avyaktadini. So they are all avyakta. Before they are all, you could not see them before. And after their origination, before death, they become Vyaktamadhyani. They become in the manifest in the middle, right? And again, they certainly become Avyakta Nidhanani, unmanifest after the death, right? So those which have unmanifestness, Avyakta, invisibility, after their death are Avyakta Nidhanani. The ones that become invisible after death or death or destruction or avyakta nidhanani. What comes into visibility is avyaktadini. What disappears after that, destroys after that is avyakta nidhanani. Whatever is in the middle, vyakta madhyani, whatever that's visible. So the idea is that even after death, they certainly attain avyakta, they become unmanifestedness. They attain that state. Maradar Durdva Mapya Vektata Meva Pratipadyante. So the idea is even after the death, they certainly become unmanifestedness. Again, according to this, again, Shankaracharya here quotes something from Shanti Parva in Mahabharata. He quotes that in Shanti Parva, it is said that अदर्शनाद अदर्शनाद पतितः पुनश्च दर्शनं गतः नासो तव न तस्य त्वं वृथा का परिदेवना. They emerged from invisibility and have gone back to invisibility. They are not yours, nor you theirs. What is this fruitless lamentations? So it was said to previous in Shanti Parva. So Shankaracharya quotes that same thing. So these people emerged from invisibility, they've gone back to that. So why they're not yours? Why you are lamenting for that? So same thing here Krishna says in this shloka as well. So that's why he says ka paridevana. What lamentations? What are the prattle can be there? Tatra, with regard to them, why with regard to beings which are subjects of delusion, this shoka moha, and which are invisible, right? And become visible and then get destroyed. So for them, ka paridevana, why you are lamenting for them? This atma, which is currently being discussed, is incomprehensible, right? So that's why Shankaracharya, Krishna starts the next shloka explaining why this Atma is like that, why it is difficult. Before we go there, we'll just look at a little bit more here. So there was this, I don't know whether I'll be able to complete this story today, but there was the story is related to here, related to this shloka. There is a story. There was a sadhu, somebody who's doing austerities. He left his home and everything, was living in the forest, trying to understand this Atma Jnana, attain this Atma Jnana. He was trying to find his root and where his origin and things like that. There, when he was doing that austerities there, a prince comes there. And that prince, when he says that he was very tired, he wanted to take some rest in that ashrama. So when I inquired, after the prince says that he comes from a city named Niguda, and his father is King Nirmoha. Nirmoha is somebody who does not have any moha, delusion. Okay. And so this sadhu wonders how a king can be nirmoha. He does not have any moha or attachment. So he decides to go to that city and go there. He goes there and he tells the people as he enters that this prince has been he was killed by a tiger in the forest. So when he says that, the people of the city, they say that, oh, is it so? It was the end of his time. That's why he died. And then the sadhu again continues. He goes to the palace and he says the doorkeepers and the servants in that palace. He tells the same thing, saying that the prince has been killed in the forest. They say that, like old leaves that drop off the trees, everyone has to go at some point. And sadhu wonders, okay, these people also not attached, do not have any attachment, probably because they are servants, they don't care much about their prince. So he goes to king and he tells the same thing, saying that your son died. I saw it in the forest. He died. He was killed by a tiger. So king says that Runanubandha Rupena Pashupatni Sutalaya Runakshaye Kshem Yanti Tatra Ka Paridevana. He says that all these animals, wives, sons, and everything, all the wealth and everything I have is Runanubandha. So whatever I based on my karmas, whatever I carried, that's why it comes. And when Runakshaye, when that debt is cleared, all these things will go. That's why this lamentation? Why should I lament for that? When they go and come and go, why should I lament? So king also says that. Then he goes to the one servant of that prince who was looking after the prince very close to him. And that prince is, he says, the sadhu goes and says the same thing. That assistant or the servant of the prince also says that this word is like an earthen pot. Okay, so you never know when it's going to break or destroyed. So we make some, we destroy some. It's never always the same. So this sadhu again wonders, everybody I'm spoken here do not have any attachment or anything. They are all pure. They do not have anything. And then he continues and he goes to the mother of that prince, because mothers are normally very much attached, and sadhu thinks definitely this mother is going to cry and start crying when she hears that her son is killed by the tiger. He goes and does, because death of son is very difficult to overcome. Śāstra says that Pitrashokam Shanmasam Matrashokam Chavatsaraha Bharya Shokam Punarbharya Putrashokam Dine Dire. Pitrashokam Shanmasam. So father's death is 6 months grieving normally. Matrashokam Vatsara. Mother's death is normally a year. Bharya Shokam Punarbharya. So wife death is till you marry again. And Putra Shokam Dine Dine. So death of son is Dine Dine, daily, every day, lives long, all the life. Okay, so that's why he sadhu thinks that, okay, mother definitely will grieve when I tell her that this tiger has killed your son. So he goes to see the queen of that city. Okay, so we'll see what happens to that story. We'll see next time and resume our Gita